And so here's what I want us to sit with for a moment, inshallah ta'ala, for the moments that we have here today as we are fasting. May Allah Azza wa Jal accept our fast, and many of you intended to fast. May Allah accept your fast as well. Allahumma ameen. Abu Darda radiallahu ta'ala anhu has a beautiful statement. He says, لولا ظمأ الهواجر, had it not been for the long days of fasting. I'm not going to lie, when I got on the flight to come here, I left Dallas at 11 p.m. Fajr hit like less than 4 hours in. I looked at the time of Maghrib in London and I went, whoa. I'm being honest here. Pulled out some of those electrolytes and got myself ready. I was like, all right, this is going to be a tough one. Abu Darda radiallahu ta'ala anhu said, لولا ظمأ الهواجر, had it not been for the long days of thirst and the long nights of qiyamul layl, ما أحببت البقاء في الدنيا. I actually wouldn't want to be here anymore. I wouldn't want to live anymore if I didn't have the sweetness of long days of fasting and long nights of praying. Meaning he fell in love with the process of sacrifice itself for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Not that you enjoy the pain, but you love the one that you are enduring for. And that gives you joy. I can tell you, I know people, not Sahaba, I know people who in their elderly age, when they could no longer come to the masjid, or they could no longer fast, or they could no longer do sujood, would say, I really don't want to live anymore. Like, this is my sweetness in life, is doing this. And I know people that have cried because they were told that they can't fast anymore medically. I've seen it with my own two eyes. What's the difference between that person and the other person who's fully healthy, but makes all these excuses in the world to break their fast and to bend the rules of Ramadan? Why is it that that old man is crying over the inability to fast Ramadan, and that young man is making every excuse in the book to not have to fast at all? And if you were to question, if you were to do a happiness test, like a measure on those two people, which one do you think was actually happier? Who's more fulfilled in life? That paradox exists even at the time of the Prophet ﷺ. There's a juxtaposition in Tabuk where the hypocrites are exposed. Where the hypocrites didn't want to go out with the Prophet ﷺ, and they made all these excuses. It's hot outside. It's comfortable here. We're going to be in unknown territory. There's going to be this difficulty and that difficulty. They made their excuses and they prepared their excuses, and they weren't even worth entertaining in their excuses. Just go. Allah doesn't need you. Allah doesn't need you. If you read the whole trial of Ka'b ibn Malik radiallahu ta'ala anhu, that is actually a sign of Allah's love for him, that he went through that. When he did not make his excuse, like the hypocrites made their excuses. There's a juxtaposition of the hypocrites that made their excuses, that didn't want to go out with the Prophet ﷺ because it was hot outside, because it was exhausting, because it was tiring, because of this and because of that. And these two men that Allah mentions in the Quran, same episode, who are devastated that they can't go out with the Prophet ﷺ because they don't have the means to go out with the Prophet ﷺ. And Allah Azza wa Jal mentions their tears. أَعْيُنُهُمْ تَفِيضُ مِنَ الدَّمْعِ. Their eyes are filled with tears as they are walking away from the Prophet ﷺ because they don't have the means to go out and be with the Prophet ﷺ in his difficult moments. It's the same episode. It's the same circumstances. What differs is the quality of the people involved. I want you to fall in love with sacrifice. I want you to actually feel like when you do for Allah, that is the greatest joy that you can have, not to endure unnecessary pain.